And this transmission is called The Naked King. There is a king of emotions, and he rides high when he chooses. And his banner is the flame. He is the king of many dominions, for it is his mission to conquer, and war is his answer to all pain. He does not discuss, but only issues orders. He does not forgive, but only executes. And he does not surrender, for pride is the only master he knows. He rides a mount at all times, for he needs to see above the heads of those he controls, rather than meet their naked eyes. He glories in the attack, for this is the moment of ecstasy, when no longer does he hold back, no longer does he wait for the release of his rage. So confident is he that he sees power as his beauty. Hence, he owns no mirror, no visible reflection of the dictator he has become. And as he travels from village to village, laying waste to all he sees, he leaves consciousness behind, for how else is the purity of his lust to be maintained? His is the way that glory is found in destruction, that possession becomes a god, that vengeance is misnamed as justice, and all reason is lost. His is the impatience of the young soul, the infant soul, the desperation of the fearful child who knows no other means to protect what seems already gone. And if we take this great king, cast him down from his steed, strip him of his armor, and dress him instead as a swaddling child, then do we see his true form, his true origin, and his true heart, as it cries for love. For yes, even this one is without guilt. Though he strikes out at the innocent, even this one is at all times a child of God. And how do we live when he comes into our homes, when he breaks down the door and charges at us, threatening the little one who lives in us, who perhaps has anger of her own, when she too reveals the frightened child, the exposed and helpless infant, who knows no other way to survive? This complex question must take many roads in answer, for we can no more understand anger in a word than we can simplify the meaning of love. We see and we feel anger as heat, as a flame put to the heart, and thus we experience it as danger, for a flame that leaps out of control becomes a certain and painful death. And yet this flame arises from within, for here lives the fear, always mother to rage. And so we become trapped by our own expression, susceptible to death by our own hand. It is for this reason that anger cannot remain within. It must by its very nature, be expressed through expulsion. And if it is somehow kept trapped, it will find other ways to devour internally as it burns. But if we live in a relationship of love, if we stand beside one whom we wish to love, then how do we respond when the king arrives? When the natural kindling of old pain is met by a summer wind, and all in a moment, one lover next to another lover is consumed by flame. We must begin with a new understanding, and this is that there is no human expression which is unnatural, and no human emotion that is worthy of shame. So much of the pain we come to know in human form is rooted not in the experience itself, but in the human response to the experience. And while this is understandable, it is a new time dawning when we can look with all eyes, finally free from judgment. For this is how God has always looked upon us, even when we dreamed up stories that it was divine to blame. And so, if we begin by knowing that whatever arises in us is given to us as a voice in the process of healing our world, then we can see that even the most outrageous king, leading the most dangerous of armies, is not to be reviled and not to be feared. This is a perspective that may be a place to which we return, for in the moment of assault, the inherited response is deep and strong. And when we are attacked, it is the human way either to cower in weakness or to reply in kind. And yet there will come a day when we discover an acceptance that will allow the king to point his lance, and no matter how powerful his steed, no matter how loud his fury, he will charge, and he will meet us still standing, and he will pass through us and out the other side. For the secret of the king is that he requires of others to decide if they are followers or opponents, for he will hear of no other choice. Yet, this is his illusion only. And as we gain in our strength, in our own transformative powers, it will become more and more clear that there is a third choice. And in this way, we will dethrone him with his own force, whether he likes it or not. Though the truth of all kings is that they are meant to discover the joy found at the end of their days. And so, the two lovers, who each bear kings within, have two tasks before them. And one is how to face the king of the other, and one is how to face the king they hold inside. Yet each of these will respond to the power of love when it can be touched in its own time. Two kings engaged in head-to-head combat achieve little until one pauses long enough to raise his mask. One king attacking a lover gives her a chance to disengage his false claims. One king who rears up in response to an attack by a lover's king has a chance to choose his moment and say, no, I will grant this time to her expression and save my king for another time. For like all tyrants, this king can only dominate with the support of willing soldiers who say yes to his strength and yes to his right to trample all in his path. And if only we who witness his fierce ride have the courage to recognize the illusion of his fire, we cannot burn, we cannot hurt, and we cannot ever die. And so, in our awareness, we may grant him his day, as many days perhaps as he needs to sputter and fume, to joust and flail, to shriek and rage at all that he sees, knowing that he is indeed an emperor without any clothes, until he is ready to look in a new-found mirror and witness his own nakedness after all. But better a naked king than to deny his birth. Better a conscious king than one who refuses his mirror. And better our kings than no kings at all. For they are the ones who are brave enough and foolish enough to ride forth in their skin, flinging open the castle gates to reveal the dungeons of pain that live beneath. Let each king be nothing more than the guardian of the wounded infant, and no harm can come from this or any other battle between children bearing invisible swords. Oh, I love that last line.